Good afternoon, everybody, and good afternoon to the people who are watching this webinar from whatever place you are in Africa, in Europe. I really welcome you to this webinar, and I would like to give you a round of applause for taking the step of attending this webinar, which is about self-sabotaging yourself. The webinar aim is to help you and equip you to have the techniques and tactics and tools to overcome self-sabotaging. My name is Didier Mbayo. I am a John Maxwell certified coach, trainer, and speaker, and I'm the owner and founder of a company called Lead Influence. And my company aim is to help people to transform their lives, to help people to discover the best version, to know who they are, to reach their full potential. So that's what my company stands for. My aim is to help people to find the better version of themselves and reach their full potential. Thank you for attending this webinar. I am going to turn off my camera because I've got a PowerPoint slide that I'm going to present. And I really encourage you to grab a pen and a piece of paper so you can write down some very interesting idea that I'm going to share about self-sabotaging and how you can overcome self-sabotaging. Thank you. Just give me a little bit of, just give me 1 minute. I'm trying to find my presentation so I can put it out, put it on the screen so you can see it. Just a minute. Okay, I think we are good to go now. I'm still trying to find my PowerPoint slide. It's not showing up. Just a minute. I don't know what is going on now. Perfect. Again, I want to give you a warm welcome for taking your time to listen to this webinar and watch the webinar live from whatever location you are, in Africa, in Europe, in America. Welcome to this webinar on this day of the 27th of February, 2021. During our time together, we will be exploring what is self-sabotage and why we partake in it and how to fight back against destructive behavior and form healthy habits, because self-sabotaging is some sort of destructive behavior, because self-sabotaging doesn't really help you to live the life of your dream, to achieve your purpose. Behavior is said to be self-sabotaging when it creates problems and interfere with our long-standing goals. And often, most people, I would say, the majority of the people engage into self-sabotaging. And sometimes they don't know why they're doing it. So the most common self-sabotaging behavior are procrastination, self-medication with drugs or alcohol. So the abusive use of alcohol is a form of self-sabotaging. Overeating, interpersonal conflict, when you are constantly in conflict with people, it's a way of self-sabotaging yourself. While these acts may seem useful and comforting at the moment, they ultimately undermine us, especially when we engage in them repeatedly. Even if you are aware of your self-sabotaging behavior, there is no guarantee that in itself it will be enough to disengage from the act. Because usually, like I've said, many people who engage into self-sabotaging are not even aware that they self-sabotage themselves. They just cannot explain why they're acting in a certain way. Still, it is possible to overcome almost any form of self-sabotaging, and people do it every day. I will tell you that most of the successful people have actually overcome self-sabotaging. That's why they are successful. Can you relate to any of the following? You tend to focus on what is not working as opposed to what is. I've seen many people, focusing on things that do not really help them to move the needle, do not really help them to live the life of the dream. But they keep doing it. You tend to fear the future, worry a lot about the what if and what might happen down the road. Most of us last year and even now are currently involved and engaged into self-sabotaging because most of us are still worried about the future. We don't know what the future holds because of COVID. We don't know what will happen to our family because of COVID. The reality is when we do that, because as a human being, it looks like we like to travel fast and look at the future and try to find answer. And unfortunately, if you travel to the future is made up of the unknown. You have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. You have no idea what's going to happen in 10 years. So therefore, why bother to travel in the future? Because the future is the unknown. So by you doing that, you become anxious, you become fearful, and that is a way of self-sabotaging yourself. You feel like you have no value and find it challenging to recall accomplishment. I mean, many people every day display this kind of behavior where they feel like they have no value, they just, nobody, and they don't think that they deserve to be treated in a certain way, and they never party, they never, appreciate when they accomplish things. When you criticize yourself often and can't accept compliment, it's a way of self-sabotaging yourself. When you compare yourself to others consistently, then feel bad for not measuring up. It's a way of self-sabotaging. Many people do that. Many people like to compare themselves with their friends or anybody else. Trust me, that's not a good way of living because there will always be somebody who's going to be ahead of you. There will always be somebody that's going to be better than you. So measuring yourself to other people, it's not the way to go. You have to measure yourself with yourself. Set standards, set goals, and set objectives for your life, and then you measure yourself against your own goals, your standard, as opposed to measuring yourself to other people. It doesn't really help. You chase away relationships. If you are in a relationship, you quickly find flaws and fault in the other person. Most of us have been involved in this type of behavior when we're always trying to find flaw in our partner or we're trying to find flaws with our friends. That is a way of self-sabotaging. You feel like you have no purpose in life. Trust me, the most happiest people on this earth are the people who have goals, who have a purpose. They know exactly what they're shooting for. So lack of purpose, lack of goals, lack of a higher calling will always lead you to become to self-sabotage yourself. For some of us, these behaviors are all too familiar. For others, they might seem to be a bit of out of reach. The next slide will talk about self-destruction, symptoms and habits of self-destruction or self-sabotaging. Under the umbrella of self-sabotage is self-destruction. Self-destructive symptoms can arise all the time and are signs that we are trying to self-sabotage. I will give you some few examples. Failing to take action, it's a way of self-sabotaging yourself. And usually people who fail to take action are people who procrastinate. Having a negative, pessimistic, or self-defeating mindset. For example, when people say things like, I am going to fail, I just know it, I am not good, that is a way of self-sabotaging yourself. Overeating, it's a way of self-sabotaging yourself. Undereating, it's also a way of self-sabotaging yourself. Portraying yourself as unintelligent or incapable. I have heard many people telling lies to themselves and saying, I'm not smart enough. I am not good enough to do this. That is a way of self-sabotaging yourself. Bullying, if you are going out of your way to harm others, it's a way of self-sabotaging yourself. Self-pity, many people like to play the victim. Many people like to look like there is something wrong with them, always looking for external circumstances to explain their failure. The victim mentality. It's a way of self-sabotaging yourself. Drug and alcohol abuse. It's a way of self-sabotaging yourself. Refusing help, spending too much. It's also symptoms that shows that you suffer of self-sabotaging yourself. Physical neglect, getting poor sleep, refusing to exercise, eating unhealthy food, and failing to maintain basic hygiene are all signs of self-sabotaging yourself. Mental neglect, refusing, avoiding, and failing to confront psychological health issues like anxiety, depression, it's a way of self-sabotaging yourself. Those are symptoms. We all go through ups and downs. But if you find yourself returning to pattern of binge, drinking, overeating, undereating, self-harm, physical neglect, or any of the other items that I've listed previously, you likely find comfort in the harmful action of self-sabotaging yourself. When we feel that we lack, we do not have, we lack worth, it's pretty much the lack of self-worth, like it put on the slide. There are few main reasons that we participate in self-sabotaging behavior. Perhaps the most all-encompassing is feeling a lack of self-worth. There are millions of factors that can contribute to our feelings of unworthiness, and it will take 1,000 and dozens of classes to cover them. But the concept of cognitive dissonance can help us understand more cumulatively. So I will now explain to you what is cognitive dissonance. It refers to the tendency we have to seek consistency among our belief and opinion. Every time something doesn't make sense, like when we are hurt or surprised by an action, we feel discomfort, and our brain compensates by creating a new reality that eliminates the dissonance. How does this play out in terms of self-sabotaging behavior? I'll give you an example. Let's say you don't like somebody you work with, but one day that person decides to go out of his way and offer you a coffee. And when they offer you a coffee, you have two options on how you're going to react. The first one is you change your opinion of them. Maybe you think they are actually kind of cool, or this person is really is different. He has changed. He's such a nice person. Or you can say that you can justify your previous opinion of them. You can say something like, well, this guy can be going out of his way to offer me a cup of coffee, but I don't trust that this guy is doing it really, intentionally. He's probably doing it because he's got a hidden agenda. So once you land on one of these options, your brain stick to it. Your belief is either altered or strengthened based on what has just occurred. And that is a way of you applying cognitive dissonance. Moving forward to the next slide. Cognitive dissonance. Our brain don't like cognitive dissonance. Processing new information makes our brain work harder and throw a wrench in the inner working of everything. Therefore, our first instinct is to come to a conclusion and move on, even if that means making a judgment that is not factually correct. Let me give you now a true example and practical way cognitive dissonance and self-sabotage might play out in your life. Let's look at your romantic life. Let's say in one of your first romantic relationship, you were cheated by a guy, or you were cheated by a woman, and your brain has now formed a belief that romantic relationship always end up with someone being hurt, and always a romantic relationship will lead to some form of distrust. As you progress forward through life and partake in various romantic relationships, you might have never truly gotten over this mistrust, even if your partner has never given you any reason not to trust them. I'm sure you can relate to this. I mean, there are people who go into a relationship, but they always express and show sign of someone who never trusts his partner because of past experience. You might start thinking to yourself, I trusted people once, and look where they got me. Hurt. I'm not falling for this again. Like in the previous example, your brain kept selecting option two, like, I don't trust this person. Remember the example about somebody who went out of his way to offer you a coffee. You keep saying to yourself, this guy, I don't trust him. He might have a hidden agenda. So your brain like it when you fall back into previous pattern, because that is less cognitive work. It will be uncomfortable to learn new information, process it, then apply that new knowledge to all your memories and belief. And it's so easier to fall back into old ideas and prejudice. We like the control. So it feels better to accept your own failure rather than face the possibility of failure taking you by surprise. At least when you are steering the ship, you know where it's going, even if that means driving it into an iceberg of self-sabotage. Let's look at the imposter syndrome. The higher up you rise, the further you have to fail. This fear of ultimately failing is another reason that we partake in self-sabotage. Our psyche is rooted in the perception that you are not deserving of the success you have gained so far. In return, you might partake in self-sabotaging behavior, such as doing the bare minimum, procrastinating, or diverting your attention in order to avoid this fear. We find comfort in pain, or we are bored with the way things are going. Other reasons that we might turn to self-sabotaging behavior are due to familiarity or boredom. We are creatures of habit, but sometimes this means that we choose consistency over our own happiness or contentment. If we are used to being or feeling overlooked, mistreated, or exploited, it can be strangely reassuring to put ourselves in that position over and over again. I mean, you meet people sometimes when they face a situation, their first reaction is to look at themselves as, oh, you know what? This did not happen to me the first time. It happened to me many times that I've been mistreated, I've been overlooked, and because of the past experience that you had, you will always have a tendency, because you are a creature of habit, to go back and adopt the same behavior that you had in the past. We all are creatures of habit, and that is something that we have to be mindful of, because habits are the way we behave, we operate in our own life. So the question is, what are the habits that you have created and developed? Are those habits are those habits healthy habits, or are those habits destructive habits? Even though we know that these roles make us unhappy, those habits are making us unhappy, we prefer them to the unknown. We might also turn to self-sabotage because we are bored. Sometimes we create drama or inciting conflict to give us a little bit of rush. And being in the middle of a chaos can feel comforting, even if we don't like it. But because of the past experience that we have been through, we find comfort to live in that chaotic situation. The good news is that self-sabotage follow a predictable pattern. So we can change it, like I've said, because it's deeply embedded in you, in who you are. And those are habits that you have created over many years. So you need to create new habits to overcome those sabotaging behavior. The first thing that I will advise you to do, but before I jump into that slide, I would like to talk a little bit more about the subconscious mind and what it does to your life. So as a human being, we have a brain, and in our brain, we have a mind and a subconscious mind. Now, the mind is where you have the ability to think, to reject idea, to create idea, to innovate. That where you use your intellectual faculty, because your conscious mind is always the part of your brain where you create and generate things, reject things. And the subconscious mind is where you actually do not think, because your subconscious mind is what is called the emotional mind or the habit mind. And your subconscious mind is made up of paradigm. And I'm sure some of you want to know exactly what exactly is a paradigm. So a paradigm is a combination of behavior, thought pattern, and actions that you have taken over many years. Because you have done it in a consistent way, it now forms part of your paradigm. Now, what is very interesting about the mind and the subconscious mind is the following. Every single day when we wake up, we are doing things on an autopilot mode, meaning our subconscious mind govern and dictate the way we behave during the day, because our subconscious mind dictates 95% of our behavior during the day, because it's a very powerful tool in actual fact. And the only 5% of our conscious mind come into play every day. When you wake up, for instance, in the morning, you don't think how you're going to brush your teeth. You don't think how you're going to wear your clothes. You don't think how you walk, because you just walk because it's an habit that you've created, you see. So your subconscious mind take over 95% of your activity every day. Only 5% are governed by your conscious mind. So you can understand why in life you don't get the result that you want, because everything that is embedded in your subconscious mind will dictate the way your life will play out. So your results are a reflection of your paradigm. So if your paradigm are not conducive for you to grow, to become a better version of yourself, of course, you can imagine what type of person you're going to be. So there is a lot of work that needs to happen into your subconscious mind, because it's an habit mind. So the same way you create those habits, you can also reprogram your subconscious mind. I'm sure there may be one question from you, but where did we get those paradigms? how was those paradigms formed? So let me tell you, the paradigms are formed from your younger age. Sometimes you were not even cautious because you were a baby. So what happened is the people in your environment, your parents, whoever was closer to you when you were still a baby, from age 0 to age 7, actually dumped into you behavior, habit, and things that they they may not be cautious when they were doing it, but they basically dump into you the belief, and some belief, limiting belief, that are actually limiting your life today. I will give you an example. When parents sit and start talking about poverty, lack, or they start talking about challenges and how their life is so miserable. In fact, a baby can be there, but they don't realize that they actually programming that young baby to believe that lack is normal, poverty is normal. So sometimes you can't blame those people because it's also based on the level of awareness. So the level of awareness was very low. So they didn't know that when they were talking about poverty, lack, they were actually dumping into you the belief that money can never be something easy to get. But by default, they were actually teaching you that you will always be somebody who live a poor life and a life of lack. You see. So the question here is, how do I reprogram my subconscious mind? I'll give you a few tips. You reprogram your subconscious mind by daily self-affirmation, meaning when you wake up in the morning, take and have the habit of telling yourself good things like I was born for success. I was born for this time. I am intelligent. I am confident. I am a great architect. I am a great accountant. I am a great lawyer. I generate multiple source of income. I am born for this time. I am here to impact millions of people's life. Statement like this over the time, because you're trying to reprogram your subconscious mind, will produce the desired result. Because you always believe what you tell to yourself than what other people say about you. So your self-talk is very important. What are you affirming about you? Because that will go deep down into your subconscious mind and reprogram your mind. You can also decide to record yourself in your phone, talking about you. I mean, making those daily self-affirmation. It's usually called like a power life script. So talk about nice affirmation. I am grateful and happy that in the present tense, I am the owner of my house. My house is fully paid. I am grateful and happy that I am driving my dream car. So use the present tense because you have to act as you are already in possession of those things that you deserve. You see. So I really wanted to spend a little bit of time here because this is very critical. Anything will change in your life until you decide to change your paradigm. Because your paradigm are everything that limits your life today. The best life that you can live will depend on you reprogramming your mind and changing the paradigm. Okay, so let's move to the next slide. Now we're going to be talking about the tips and technique that will help you overcome self-sabotaging. Pinpoint your pattern. For you to pinpoint your pattern, you have to get to some level of awareness. Okay? Like I've said before, self-sabotage follow a predictable pattern. So awareness of how it show up in your life will help you to recognize when it does, so that you can take action to nip it in the bud as soon as it show up. So the first step in this is to think back to previous time you have self-sabotage in your life. Then figure out what point out typically begin what point you typically to begin to indulge in self-sabotaging behavior. and uncover your triggers, because you need to know what trigger your self-sabotaging. So that for that you need to get to a level of awareness where you start analyzing and going back into your previous experience where you have self-sabotaged yourself, and try to understand the pattern and the trigger point. Maybe it's when you are in a specific setup, when you are with specific people, or when you are engaged into specific conversation. Those are the trigger point for you to end up self-sabotaging yourself. So the first technique is self awareness. So some kind of awareness for you to understand what are the trigger points. The next one, get intimate with your fear. Okay? Think of self-sabotage as a misdirected form of self-love. Your brain is moving you toward self-sabotaging behavior because it thinks that it's protecting you from hurt and danger, when in reality, it's also holding you back from your full potential. Fear is an emotion most of us prefer to sweep under the rug instead of working to confront head on. One step you can take to face your inner fears head on is to journal. Next time you realize that you might be partaking in a self-sabotaging behavior, procrastination or delaying, picking fight, take a moment to ask yourself, what am I scared of? And why is that scary? Then ask yourself, if that is the worst case scenario that happened, could I handle it? Finally, ask yourself, does this fear outweigh my desire? And I think here we need to understand that fear, like many people say, it's a false evidence, or false evidence appearing real. Fear, I know we all experience fear in many area of our life, or many instances we have experienced fear. But the question is, how do we use the fear that we experience? Is that fear lead us to shut down our dreams and desire, or is that fear propel us to take action toward our dreams and goals? So you have to be able to master your fear, because fear will keep you in bondage. So if you cannot master your fear, you will live a limiting life. You will live into, into bondage, and you will never reach your full potential. So I will strongly encourage you to master your fear. You master your fear by taking actions. Any type of fear require action. If you are fearful of body jumping, go and do it. If you fear something, take the action, the opposite action to do that thing. And you will see that you will overcome fear. And this is why most people usually use the statement of do it anyway, regardless of your fear. Because by taking action, you always get to overcome your fear. The next slide will talk about facing and embracing. What does it mean, facing and embracing? Confronting our fears means facing discomfort. And sometimes the truth that we uncover can be an ugly one. Let's take a look at a case study about a woman named Olga. She was always in fear of losing her partner, Jack. She told him all the time that she loved him and that she never wanted him to leave her, but at the same time, she kept picking fight and forgetting to keep a promise to him, like picking him up from work. In order to get to the bottom of this bizarre and seemingly contradictory behavior, Olga was prompted to contemplate the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario here is Jack is leaving me. She had never thought about this before because she was afraid to let her mind actually think it through. She was asked, what would you do if he leaves? And here a response, well, I will have to learn to live for myself. I guess I will have to be independent. So the fear that she has been hiding wasn't that Jack secretly wanted to leave her. It was that she wanted to leave Jack. Once Olga came to this realization and took the time to process her thought, instead of falling back on old habitual fear, she realized that a definition of a perfect wife meant someone who acted as an appendage to her husband, a role that she didn't want to play. Subconsciously, because she didn't want to fulfill this role, she began doing things to sabotage a marriage, thus leading to the fear of its end. So once she realized the root of her fear and how they play themselves out in her action toward Jack, she was able to move past a stereotype of marriage and recognize that her role as a wife didn't have to match up with the idea she had in her mind. She was free to forge her own course. You can see from this example that most of the times, the fear that we have is a true reflection of the image that we hold about ourselves. So usually, we fear things because there is somewhere in our inner being some sort of insecurity. Recommit to new healthy goals. This is another way to overcome self sabotaging. Setting small goals will make you feel more accomplished and in control of your life. This is particularly helpful way this is a particularly helpful way to combat self-sabotaging action because it fights feelings of low self-worth and keep you motivated and moving forward in your positive direction. And if you recall in the beginning, I say the most happiest people are the people who have goals. Goals are the things that will help you live a happy life. You need to have goals. Goals are actually the backbone of your journey on this earth. Goals are basically the way, are basically means that help you to achieve your higher calling, your dream, and your purpose. Don't be afraid to make a list of the goals that you want to achieve. And usually, I advise people when you set goals, use this following formula, which is the goals need to be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. But again, when you set goals, you have to go for the goals that are aggressive because you don't need to figure out how you're going to achieve the goals. What is important is to have the goal, what you're shooting for. How you're going to get there, it's none of your business. You leave it to the universe and you leave it to God for some of us who are Christian. You leave it to Allah for those who are Muslim. What you just need is to have a goal and shoot for the goal. And the more you focus on it every day, you're going to attract the right resource. You're going to attract the right people that will help you to achieve your goal. Start with small obligation like doing laundry, grocery shopping, or picking up dog food. Crossing something off your to-do list is fulfilling in its own weird little way. So I have even experienced this myself. I mean, every time I use my journal and write down the goals that I have to achieve for a single day, when I cross and I tick on my journal that this goal has been achieved, there is a sense of happiness. There is a sense of fulfillment that I can't explain. The other technique of overcoming self-sabotaging behavior are you need to stop assuming things because it's easy for people to assume things. Don't fall into the mental trap of harmful assumption. It's easy to spiral out of control. It's natural to try to analyze and assess people and situations to make sense of our surroundings. The danger lies in allowing your imagination to wander too far, leading to the worst case scenario, which causes anxiety, frustration, and fear. Furthermore, the assumption you make about the way people feel about you are often a reflection on how you feel about yourself. Let me repeat that. The assumption you make about the way people feel about you are often a reflection on how you feel about yourself. After all, you are getting that harmful material from somewhere, your own self sabotaging thought. Because usually, like I've said, The image that you hold about yourself are more important than what people say about you. So if you believe that you are a failure, you believe that you are not worth, you believe that you are mistreated, you believe that people always overlook you. Whenever someone make a comment, you will travel quickly and start looking at this comment or statement as a way of overlooking at you or looking at you as someone that has no worth. So if you feel ignored, alone, or abused, your first thought definitely will be that they treat me this way because I am not worth. I don't have the money. If this behavior goes unchecked and you don't realize that you are making silly assumptions, you will actually trick your mind into making false judgment about other people. When you start assuming negative things, you attract negative thought. To fix this pattern, try and catch yourself, then distract yourself with something else that you enjoy. Try, I will give you a tip. Try when your mind quickly travel into making assumption. Look at yourself and say, I believe that this person has made this statement out of a goodwill. Try to see the good in any situation. The next slide will talk about do less because we as human beings have a tendency to always try to do too much. Keep your day simple and meaningful. Don't let yourself get overwhelmed with things that are not a priority to you. And don't waste your time on things that don't really matter. Here I have to bring you your I have to remind you of one thing that is very important. For you to be a success, you need to learn to prioritize. You need to know what is important for me right now because your life is so precious. Your time is so limited. So you need to know how to use your time in a more efficient way. And the best way to use your time in the most efficient way, you need to know your priorities. And your priority can only be linked to your goals. And your goals can only can only be linked to your purpose. So your priority need to be the things that are aligned to your goals, to your higher calling. Learn how to say no and start getting used to delegating duties to people around you. That is the way you will make your life simple. You will do less because when you delegate, you also empower other people and you give them opportunity to work on something that they've never done. So you give them exposure and then it allows you in return to have time to focus on your purpose and your goals. Take time to yourself to do the things you enjoy. For instance, do you like cooking? Make sure to set some time aside to make yourself a nice meal once a week. Do you enjoy spending time with animals? Carve out an hour to visit, volunteer at the animal shelter this weekend. So try to do the things that you are passionate about. Try to do the things that will make you happy and things that are aligned with your goal. The next slide will talk about accountability. You need to get an accountability partner. Surround yourself with people who are also doing their best to fight against habit of self-sabotage. If your goal is to start creating more healthy habits, but most of your friends don't have a problem sitting around every night eating, fast food, then find a buddy to go to the gym with. You will always be the average of the 5 people that you surround yourself with. So you be careful about the people that you spend your time with. So make sure that if you want to overcome self-sabotaging habits, that you surround yourself with people who also have the same age, with people who always have a bigger picture, people who always believe in things moving in the right direction. people who are positive. Surround yourself with people who believe in it. Life will bring you pain all by itself. Your responsibility is to create joy. There will always be time when we realize that we need to let go of something painful, be it guilt or toxic relationship. However, it's never easy to let go of something that we've become accustomed to. So we get stuck in the middle of two realities, where we are and where we want to be. Fear of the unknown can hold us back, but we can choose not to let it. And I've said that in the previous slide. Stop traveling to the future. Stop making assumptions on what will go wrong. Try to live in the present. Remove any sort of painful experience. Let go of it and live your life as if today is your last day. Because ultimately, you are responsible for your own joy. Don't expect people to make you joyful. Don't expect circumstances to make you joyful. You are ultimately responsible of your own joy. The other things that you can do to combat self-sabotaging behavior: engage into act of self-love. One way to solve this problem is to accept more love into your life, which of course can be difficult if you feel that you are unworthy of love. But remember that if you are always putting yourself into self-destructing, self-sabotaging situation, you are not allowing yourself to expand your worth and reach your full potential. Because those are things that will stop you from reaching your full potential. Self-sabotaging behavior, like we've said, behavior such as looking at yourself as not worth, having self-limiting belief, always seeing the worst case scenario, are things that will not help you to reach your full potential. Since you can't control the love you receive from the other people, the best place to start is with self-love. Here are a few ways that you can practice self-love. For ladies, you can go and buy yourself some flowers. Sing loudly to your favorite song. Treat yourself to a concert, play, art museum, or musical performance. Join a walking group or sign up for a class. Do anything that will make you feel loved. And for instance, you can go and buy a nice pair of shoes, because if that makes you happy, then do it, because you show yourself that you are worth of love. I have seen many people acting usually in a way that they display behavior of self-sabotaging. You will show them something that they like, something that they really want to have. Let's say they look at a picture, they see a very nice pair of shoes or a nice blazer. And it's not like they do not have the money to buy it. They do have the money, but because they don't like themselves, they just feel like it's wrong for them to buy a nice pair of shoes, or it's wrong for them to have to buy themselves a nice, suit. Those are things that will definitely put you in an environment where you keep self-sabotaging yourself. Learn to now love yourself more, because like we said in this slide, you cannot control the people out there. People will not necessarily love you, and we see that every day. I mean, people will display behavior that they love you, but in reality they don't care about you. So you need to care more about you than expect other people to care about you. Love yourself, engage into act of self-love. Praise yourself rather than waiting for others to do it for you. This is another way you can combat self-sabotaging. When you do something you are proud of, take time and reflect on it and give yourself a round of applause. Praise yourself for doing great things. Being aware of your accomplishment will boost your mood and make you more self-sufficient. If we are waiting for people around us to congratulate us on our self-worth and self-esteem, you will wait for long. Trust me. When we wait for other people to praise us, we are giving away a key to our own happiness, because the thought, opinion, and belief of others are outside of our control. Because if you expect people to praise you, trust me, most of the time they may not praise you. And what's going to happen to you if people don't praise you? Are you now going to look at yourself as not worth of something? Are you going to look at yourself as somebody that, is not good enough? No, stop doing that. Believe and praise yourself. Believe that what I've done is worth the praise. Tell yourself that I am an amazing person today. Look at what I've done. Listen to your body is another way of combating self-sabotaging. One of the best ways that we can practice self-care and break up with self-sabotage is to take care of our physical body. If you are constantly tired, try researching some natural sleeping supplements. If you are feeling burnout, pass on that Red Bull that the office supply you with, and cut out of caffeine after 3 o'clock, for instance. Stop drinking coffee and stop drinking Red Bull. If you are overweight, reassess your diet and physical activity level. If you have chronic pain, look into possible remedies like yoga, acupuncture, or dietary change. If we ignore our issues and pain, we are not putting ourselves first, and we are not showing our bodies the self-respect that it deserves. Focus on the positive. This slide is one of my preferred slides, because in life, you only get what you believe in, not what you want. So if your beliefs are that you don't believe that you are worth of something, you don't believe that you are smart enough, you don't believe that you were born for success, of course, the result that you're going to have will be the result that you don't want. And those results will be living a life of average and living a mediocre life. Shifting years of negative self-talk to positive self-talk is a lot easier said than done, and require you to reprogram your entire mind. This is basically what I've discussed in one of the slides, where I was explaining the power of your subconscious mind. So you need to understand that every day you have the choice to either spend your time in negative thought or spend your time into positive thought. But understand that negative thought will attract the negative things. If you focus on the positive thought, you will attract the positive things. So the choice is yours. Where you focus on, it expands. So anything that you focus on, expand. Even if you think that you are not that critical of yourself, you might be surprised. Most of the time, we are unaware of the unconscious dialogue that goes into our mind. We believe more what we talk, what we say to ourselves, than what other people say about us. So our self-talk is more important. We need to be in control of our self-talk. Here are some tricks you can use to boost positive self-talk. Practice positive affirmation. Say things like, I deserve to be happy. Everything happened for a reason. I trust my intuition, and I'm worthy of love. Those self-affirmation are good ways of programming your mind for positivity. Repeat these phrases to yourself when you sense yourself spiraling into negative pattern or negative thought. Think of failure as a new opportunity. Sometimes things that seems negative at the onset can actually lead to really awesome things. I always tell people that failure and success are very good friends. They walk hand in hand. So the question is, what is your perspective when you face failure? What is it that you're learning from your failure? Because failure is only a failure if you don't get a lesson. If you don't extract a lesson from your failure, then you are a failure. And if you start analyzing failure as a stepping stone, as a way of improving yourself, you will never look at failure as something wrong. Because as I've said, failure and success work hand in hand. So you either fail or succeed. So the choice is yours. Learn to look at failure as an opportunity to learn something, an opportunity to improve. Because everything that we have today, either a TV, a smartphone, is a result of somebody also failing. Because we have a tendency to look at people who have succeeded in life, who have experienced success as never experiencing failure. All the successful people have experienced failure at a certain point of time. They have experienced failure in the journey of becoming a success. Avoid negative people. If your cubicle neighbor is always complaining, bring in a pair of headphones and listen to some podcasts instead of listening to your neighbor. I have always advised people to try to spend less time feeding the mind with negativity. And you feed your mind with negativity by watching news. Today, when you switch on your TV, you get all sorts of news that will always put you in a state of fear, of negativity. So you need to decide, what is it that you want to feed your mind with? Try to spend more time into feeding your mind with positive things, because out of positivity you will get great result. Because when you feel positive, you become excited, you become enthusiastic, you become hopeful. Because as a human being, you are made up of three parts. So you think, you feel, and you act. So if your thinking is not right, your thoughts are negative thoughts, your feeling will also be feeling of sadness, feeling of negativity, and your action will be not good action. It will result into bad result. So you have to fix the thought that you process in your mind. If you feed your mind with positive thought, it will result in positive feelings, and it will result with positive action that will lead to a great outcome. Try to look at the big picture and try to always get out of any challenging situation the good. Because with any challenging situation, there is always the seed of an equal opportunity. The next way of combating self-sabotaging behavior: learn to forgive yourself for your past actions and cut yourself a break. When negative thoughts come creeping into your mind, stop them in the tracks and counteract them with positive thought. Talk to yourself and defend yourself the way you would protect your friend, parent, or sibling. If you start spiraling, interrupt the negativity. When your mind starts wandering into negative pattern, stop it. This might literally mean walking up to a mirror and giving yourself a pep talk. And a pep talk is something along this line. You can tell yourself, hey, stop that. You know that all that negativity is not helping anyone here. And we can't afford to put ourselves down right now because we've got too much going for us. We've been here before, and we know that this behavior is not healthy. Try to use, a pep talk to yourself. Look at yourself. And this is tied to what I've said before about awareness, because you need to be aware that I'm engaging now into self-sabotaging belief, and you need to be able to stop yourself and say, no, 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 no. I am not going to feed my mind with this nonsense. I am going to focus on the good, because there are so many things that you should be grateful of. You are alive today. You are able to walk. You are able to use your intellectual faculty. Just for that, you need to be grateful. You are able to have a roof on top of your head. So for that, you need to be grateful. You have a job. It's things that you need to be grateful of. So those are positive things that happen in your life, regardless of the challenge, because the challenge are always there. You will always experience challenge. It's a fallacy to think that you're going to live your life without a challenge. Challenge are part of the journey. Challenge builds your character. Challenge help you to grow. Challenge help you to untap your potential. No, to tap into your potential. So learn to do learn to start doing engage into a pep talk. Talk to yourself. Look at yourself at the mirror and say, I am such a beautiful creature. I am an awesome person. I was born for success. So our time is now over, but your work has just begun, because I have equipped you now with the tools and tactics and ways of overcoming self-sabotaging behavior. Please take the time to re-listen to this webinar and apply, because nothing will happen until you start applying the things that you learn. So I have used quite a number of resources before I put this slide together, and I think I have looked at different literature, and I will just list some of them. I have looked at the psycho-cybernetic book. There's a nice psycho-cybernetic book, and I've also looked at different websites like www.psychologytoday.com, Basics Self-Sabotage. I've looked at www.existbetter.com. So, and I've also looked at www.huffingtonpost.com, and I look at the article that talk about self-sabotaging. So in a nutshell, you are the master of your fate and the captain of your soul. So please take actions and implement what I've shared with you about self-sabotaging. So just for the sake of for the sake of you remembering about what we have deep dive into today, I'll remind you about the tactics that I talk about today, about how to overcome self-sabotaging. The first one is to have a level of awareness that you are self-sabotaging yourself. The second one, get intimate with your fear. Understand that fear should not stop you from achieving the life of your dream, but fear are a great stepping stone for you to live the life of your dream. The third one, embrace and face your fear head on. Learn to face your fear. The fourth one, create healthy habits by having goals. Set aggressive goals. Set goals that makes you go like, how am I going to overcome it? Set those goals, because that will give you a sense of purpose. That will make you happy, because you know why you've been put on this earth. The fifth one, stop assuming things, because many people like to assume things. The sixth one, make your life better by doing simple things. Focus on the things that are important to your life and prioritize. Prioritizing means focus on the things that are aligned to your goals and your higher calling. The seventh one, have an accountability partner. Have somebody who is also involved into overcoming self-sabotaging behavior, because you will always be the average of the 5 people that you surround yourself. So the 8 tactic that you can use to overcome self-sabotaging, you are responsible of your own joy. Understand that the world will not necessarily do things that will make you happy. So you have to be able to create your own joy. The 9 tactic that you can use to combat self-sabotaging, engage into act of self-love. The 10 tactic that you can use to overcome self-sabotaging is praise yourself rather than waiting for others to do it for you. And the 11 tactic is listen to your body. And the number 12 tactic is focus on the positive. And the last one is use the pep talk to overcome your self-sabotaging behavior. I hope that this webinar has been helpful to you. And for those who would like to find out more in terms of how to overcome the self-limiting belief and how to live the best life and how to reach the full potential, please, I would encourage you to contact me on the following, details. You can go on my website, which is www.leadinfluencepty.com, and you can send me an email to ddmbayo@leadinfluencepty.com, or you can reach me on my mobile 071 473 5508. Thank you, and I wish you a great weekend.